Thank you very much. Yeah, so the dad's work that I've been doing for the last couple of years often gets put under the spotlight because we've had some good success in South Glasgow of reaching dads, and I think a large part of that is just to some of the diversity of the work that we do. So as well as your kind of traditional parent and child groups that we have, which we currently have one for an age range of children in school and for new dads as well. Those are kind of what I think a lot of organizations are probably most familiar with when it comes to kind of trying to engage with dads. And I'll come back to kind of why we put a lot of effort into those in a minute, but a couple of other aspects of what we do is that we have being a home start, the priority or the primary kind of function of Home Start is supporting families in their home. And so when we were looking at funding for the dads, to further fund dad support, it was a big aspect for me to make sure that we were able to have some one-to-one support at home for dads. Home-start is traditionally supported mums. It's not targeted mums, it's just that's kind of the setup that it has been for a very, very long time. And when we look at how many dads are at home with their kids, being the primary caregivers, or even shared caregivers, we see that dads struggle too. And so making sure that we could support them in the home, not just off at the groups and stuff like that, that was very key to what we tried to establish with our dad specific work at Glasgow South. And then the kind of the third aspect of the work that I've been doing has been the antenatal work as well. And what I've loved just in the introductions here is the amount of other people that are talking about doing that as well. The whole idea that if we equip dad from the absolute get-go, then we support mum as well, we support baby. This isn't just about supporting dad for the sake of dad, it's for the whole family, but getting in there at these earliest possible stage that we can, and get them kind of as equipped and ready as we can. It really makes me happy to see so many other people doing that. So yeah, it's a great encouragement to me, because I know that other people do this work, but very rarely do I get to kind of see the faces behind it. I just kind of know it happens out there somewhere. So that's cool. But going back to the group work, so we have group work in schools, and we've only recently started the new dads group work because it was something that was asked for at antenatal. At the antenatal classes that we were delivering, they were asking, well, where do we go once baby's here? What do we do? And I would still always encourage them to try and engage in the groups that are out there in the community, because if they ever want them to be kind of welcoming and accepting and to adjust to be for dads as well, they've got to turn up. So if you've got, your local parent and toddler group with 30 mums and 30 kids, and your dad turns up, they're not expecting you. So how are they meant to adapt what they do to include you? So, I'd always encourage them to try and, make that effort. But the fact that they already were aware before they've even got kids that those groups weren't going to be suitable for them, or they were kind of anxious that go into those groups they would feel isolated and kind of the weird guy in the room, we responded by developing our own dads and new baby group, of which we've done with a local social enterprise called Merry-Go-Round in Glasgow, who they basically upcycle and pass on and sell family items, children's clothes, children's toys and such. So with that, and with the one that's in the school, which I think a lot of people will probably just be familiar with, kind of general parent and kids groups. We chose those locations because we knew that they were kind of neutral zones for the dads. They would possibly go shop into that shop anyway, because it had a great reputation for selling really good kids stuff at really dirt cheap prices. And we go to the schools because dads pick up kids from schools. You know, I find it's very hard to draw dads into somewhere where they wouldn't normally go in the first place. And so going to the schools where they're doing a pickup, you know, you're effectively working with them where they are. And this will kind of link in shortly to kind of what we're doing now with the online stuff. But it's just something that people talk to me about all the time about, you know, how do you get guys to turn up? Well, I'm not asking them to come anywhere that they wouldn't do them normally. You know, trying to get them to step out of their comfort zone to engage in a support or to do something with the kids, that's much harder than going to where they already are. And so that, with that same thinking, that's kind of where we looked at how are we going to engage with these dads now that we're all in lockdown, and that we are kind of looking at online resources. And so a lot of the dads I work with, they've never used Zoom. They're not interested in Zoom. They don't want to sit down in front of a computer. In fact, for some of them, they don't even have computers, you know, so trying to get them to do that sort of thing, you know, I'm kind of pushing them out of what would be their usual comfort zone and asking them to engage in something that is just going to put them on the back foot already. So, you know, at the groups that I run, we've had WhatsApp groups amongst the dads for a long time. And so, you know, that was our starting point. Let's chat regularly. So our first point was, if we meet at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday before the lockdown, right, 10 o'clock on Tuesday, guys, let's still have that chat. Let's still take that time out of whatever we were doing and keep that going. It's, you know, we're not trying to start something completely new. You know, we're still trying to develop relationships with the children. So it's getting them to talk about what's going on with them, what's going on with the children, trying to get them to think about what impact this is having with the children just now, but also trying to get them to talk about that themselves. In chatting with Chris as well, one of my theories about guys and the way that we communicate is something that I've also kind of incorporated into this, in that of all the guys that I work with, they would not feel comfortable staring at this screen and seeing all these faces looking back at them. At the groups that we deliver, there's not very many who are having eye contact conversations where, you know, they're absolutely locked in like they would be in a Starbucks or a Costa or whatever. You know, a lot of the time the dads feel much more comfortable communicating with a barrier. So, you know, I often kind of say things like, you know, whether it's on the terraces, you can have a nice deep conversation with your pal. How's it going? Oh yeah, I'm going bonkers with the missus just now. If those two same guys went and sat down in Starbucks and tried to have that conversation, they'd feel daft. They probably wouldn't even do it. Younger lads, or well, even my age, playing computer games, I'll sit and have a conversation with my pal next to me, but we don't have to look at each other. You know, at the pub with a pint in front of you, looking up at the TV, whatever. You can have those conversations where you're not locked eye to eye. And I think sat here looking at a screen like this, that would be very uncomfortable for 99% of the dads that I work with. So again, using that non-face-to-face kind of communication remotely has been quite good for us to look at that. And so we're using WhatsApp. All these guys are in probably about 15 different WhatsApp groups already. The difference is we're not sharing some of the dodgy memes that get sent around in some of those groups. We've had one or two incidences of having to lock that down, but you know, it's kind of saying, you know, this group is effectively the same rules, the same kind of communication we would have if we were meeting in person. It's the same emphasis. So we're here to meet about you, about the kids, about family life. So that's been quite good. And one of the fun things that we did which WhatsApp only allows 4 people at a time in this. You can do a video call within WhatsApp with four people at a time, and I did it where, again, much like I do at groups, trying to put the kids at the center of it. So I said, right, we're going to do a scavenger hunt. It's going to be, so us 4 will do a scavenger hunt, and it's about getting the kids' faces up on the screen and not the dads. So the dads, I didn't promote this just naturally happened, and then I promoted it the second time around. The dads all kind of put the kids on so that they could say hello. And you know, for anyone who does group work with kids, you'll know that those kids are going to be happy to see you. You know, they come to those groups because they have fun with you and they do fun stuff. So it was great that the dads kind of all just kind of stuck the kids face front, and then I had them running around the house getting stuff and bringing it back. And it was still kind of incorporating some of the stuff that we would do at a group. But in between me sending the kids off to scavenger hunt, me and the dads then would chat. And, you know, so it was that way where we were still doing almost the same group that we would do in person, but we were able to do it in a small way, still using the technology that's available, but also still being able to break that down a bit. Now, I don't know what everybody else has been doing. I've been trying to kind of keep up with what people are doing. But personally, I found that's worked really well with the dads kind of engaging with that, but also that barrier, kind of that not face-to-face kind of enforced communication seems to work quite well. I mean, for the one-to-one work that I do, it's all about phone calls. You know, we've looked at doing FaceTimes and that, but the guys just don't want to do it. They don't want to see my face, and you know, I would love to see their faces, of course, but you know, having a phone call much more comfortable. So it's, you know, there might be funders or people in the background saying, oh, you know, you really want to make sure you're seeing people and doing this. What I need to do is I need to make sure that that person at the other end is as comfortable in their communication with me as they can be, so that that communication is as open as possible. When I start putting barriers like face-to-face in, then, you know, how much they want to communicate or what they want to say can quite quickly shut down. I don't know if other people are having different experiences to that, and purely just sharing kind of what we've experienced over the last 3 to 4 weeks, whatever it's been. And just to bring it back to the other last bit as well, the antenatal, with that, yeah, so we can't meet in groups, and I look at the same sort of communication kind of theories that I've got there and think, is Zoom going to work as well for me? Because that's not as much my skill set. Like I think I'm much better in person than I am on camera. And so what we're looking at is adapting that from the usual antenatal that we deliver, and we're kind of partnering up to do some work with a GP, a health visitor, and a midwife. And rather than it being just dads, we're going to look to try and just get couples, the whole family, and target as many, make it as open to the whole family to the whole kind of family unit as possible. And my desire with that is that we can come out the other side of this showing that you don't have to separate mum and dad, that you don't have to, you know, that when, say, certain health boards would say, you know, it's really hard to get dad in, or it's, you know, this information is mostly just for mum. Well, the whole 4 sessions that we're looking at between health visitor, doctor, midwife, and myself would be looking at the whole unit, rather than completely stripping it apart. Now, don't get me wrong, I still think there's room for dads to have their own conversation within that, but I think the fact that the current kind of antenatal provision is, well, that we see from other areas is kind of not very dad incorporating. I think this is a great opportunity for us to be able to say, look, this is how we can include dad throughout the whole process, not in just giving them this little bit off at the side, which kind of sometimes can feel a little bit like a, there you go, mate, that'll do you. You know, if we can demonstrate for however long this lasts that dad is central to this with mum, that dad's usefulness, dad's, you know, importance, and dad's the need for dad's support in that, then hopefully we come out the other end of this, and that, you know, can be a model to kind of build upon, because, you know, as Sturgeon was saying in a speech just earlier, there's going to be a new normal after this. We're not going back to how things were. So none of what we're looking at needs to be, oh, this is just 3 weeks worth of work or 6 weeks worth of work. We really need to consider what are the things that we're doing now, and how's that going to snowball, you know, when we come out the other side, how are we going to utilize that to keep going and keep pushing forward, because this could end up helping people that we otherwise might not have reached.